Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Sasakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravitam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So welcome to Michael. And I think you know everybody online, probably except Shweta. So Shweta, Michael, Shweta.
Namaste.
Hari Om.
So we are in our 13th chapter and we are 30th shloka. Will you help us out, please, Shweta?
Yes.
And a little louder, please. I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Oh, just a second, then let me make sure the Zoom volume is at 12. Yeah. Is this better?
Much better. Thank you.
Prakrutyeva cha karmani triyamānāni sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmana makartaram sapashyati. He sees who sees that all actions are done by Prakriti alone and that the self is actionless.
Yes. So what we're dealing here with is the sense of agency. So in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, in the intellectual sheath, there's a function called the karta, the doer, who is the performer of all actions. It is an object of awareness. Now, the question is, why do we choose to do what we do? In the West, we bang on this idea of free will. And yoga says, well, we certainly experience it, but few of us ever ask, why do I will to do this thing and not that thing? And what yoga says is, well, it's not nearly as free as we think it is. It's guna and karma. The qualities of mind and the force of our past actions as they interact with the actions of other people. So you may choose to sell your Tesla stock. Why did you choose to sell it? Well, because Tesla's going down. So there's an interaction there. Why did you buy Tesla stock in the first place? Well, I thought it would be neat to have electric. You have all these reasons, but all of it is this complex chain of cause and effect from the past. In a sense, we could do no other. Yeah, but if it hadn't gone down, I wouldn't have sold. So it's our karma as it interacts with the greater society. Of course, there's an effect in that, but that's karma too. Another way to look at it is to see I of myself do no thing. It is God within that does all the actions. Ishvara pranidhana, the trustful surrender to God. But the self stands as the witness, the uninvolved, unattached, no. Now, as we meditate on this gives us enormous freedom from a lot of mental agitation. First of all, the yogi is able to give up regret. Oh, Jim, I did all these terrible things. Oh, well, I'll never forgive myself for blah, 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 blah. Well, yoga says you could not have done any other. You did what you did. Force of the past, the qualities of mind. In a way, it was perfect. That's beyond our notions of good and bad, right and wrong. Oh, but it was a terrible thing. I understand that. And it's all part of the material that's impelled us into where we are today. Now, it is theoretically possible to do sadhana out of inspiration, out of my great love for the infinite. However, few people do it for that reason. When our life starts to become reasonably good as the result of punya, intelligent actions, we put sadhana on a back burner so we can enjoy life. So most of us are impelled into practice as a response to our suffering. In Yoga Vasishtha, there's this hymn at one section. And one of the verses, it says, "Hail, noble pleasure, you have fondled me for lifetimes. Because of you, I've been kept in beginningless ignorance." And then it goes, "Namaste, prostrations to you, noble suffering. Because of you, I have renounced the world and gained knowledge of the self." Very beautiful way to articulate. So we give up regret for the past. We give up assigning to ourselves as egos. I did this action and I did it very successfully. Look at me. Or I did this action and it was terrible. I am not the doer. It is guna and karma, qualities of mind and the force of the past. Now, this is not an indulgence for bad behavior. Doesn't matter what I do because it's all just guna and karma. No, don't be a jerk, just out of respect for the rest of us. But we will fall short of our perhaps ideals of our behavior. Everyone does. Now, about the future. You're going to do what you're going to do. Oh, Jim, I have these 2 job offers. Should I take this one or should I take that one? I can't make up my mind. This has this going on, but that wrong, and that one has that going on, but this wrong. What should I do? What should I do? And yoga says, you'll do what you'll do. And in a sense, it was all written when you popped out of your mother's womb. Prarabdha karma. So let it go. Do the best you can. Make the most intelligent choices that you can. And if you are a meditator, yoga invites us to begin to develop the intuition. We give up our attachment to the outcome, the karma phala, fruits of the action. Then we can ask, okay, what's highest wisdom? Then we act. Even if it seems illogical. So the yogi stands apart, always the witness, and understands that this karta, this function in the subtle intellect, is a material thing. Its purpose is to coordinate sensory data through memory, perception, etc., so that it seems I, Jim, did my dishes this afternoon, and I, Jim, am now in Gita class. But I know that Jim, that Chit-Chaya, that Chidabhasa, is just a function in the intellect. It's not me. Who am I? The knower of the field, Ch.13. Ever apart. Any questions on this? Now, I want to talk a little bit about a misunderstanding of karma. So you're out on a boat and somebody falls overboard. The foolish person says, oh, karma, I guess he's going to drown. No, throw him a life jacket. If you swim, jump in and save them. Our choices, our actions are not apart from God's actions. God doesn't manifest the world at us and to us, but as us and through us. Now, why did that person happen to fall overboard while you were there? Karma. Why were you on the boat? Maybe the only person able to swim? Karma. Any thoughts on this before we go on? Next verse.
Yada bhuta pritag bhava mekastha manupashyati tat eva cha vistaram Brahma sampadhyate tada. When he sees the whole variety of beings as resting in the One and spreading forth from that One alone, he then becomes Brahman.
So, Yoga Vasishta asks us to resolve three questions. Who am I? What is this world? And how has it come about? So we've spent a lot of time on the who am I question. I am not the body, I'm not the prana, I'm not the mind, I'm not the buddhi, the intellect, I'm not the chidabhas, the reflection of consciousness, I'm not even the vasanas. Who am I? Sakshi, unchanging witness. But that's only half the problem. Now we need to see the self in and through the world. About half, maybe 2/3 of the way through Viveka Chudamani. We've thundered, discriminate between the self and the not self, the self and the not self. And then Shankara says, well, guess what? We lied. There is no not self. What we've been calling the not self is also the self. Sa guna Brahman. Brahman with qualities. And the easiest way to understand this is to go to the dream state. Now, this teaching comes directly from Mandukya Upanishad and the Gaudapada Karika. So I like to say, you are the God of your dream. And in that process, we microcosmically experience mini Maya. Maya, but brought down to a small level. So what happens first? I go to sleep. And then the mind, that was the waker mind, is formed into avyakta, the unformed stuff of pure ignorance, mini Maya. Then what happens? Vikshepa Shakti. The mind projects the dream. And in the dream, I have a dream body, which is a locus of perception. I peep out at a dream world, and I have a dream ego identified with it. And there's a world outside and an interior world of reactions, feelings, and thoughts. It is no different than what I'm experiencing right now in the waking state. But when I wake up, I see that everything that was in the dream was nothing but my mind, appearing as knower, knowing, and known. I didn't have to bring things to the dream state so I could dream about them. And if I dream about a boat, I don't wake up in the morning with a boat next to the bed. So here, Krishna says, all this sarvam idam occurs in Krishna, in Brahman, in the same way as all these objects occur in a dream. Well, how did they get there? Sankalpena. What happened in the dream? I imagined them. And I like to do this exercise. If you close your eyes and visualize a mango, how vivid can you make it? Now, open your eyes. If you dream about a mango, there is a similarity and a difference. The similarity is the mango of my fantasy is sankalpa. It's just an imagination. The mango of my dream is also just imagination, just sankalpa. The difference is the additional element of ignorance in the dream. Because I've gone to sleep with its avarana shakti, with its avidya. When the mind imagines, I do not know. It's just imagination. This is the problem we have in the waking state. All this is like a dream. So we start with at least the intellectual understanding. No, it's not a material world that's made up of atoms and electrons and protons and things like that. We're not saying those are not there, but there are laws in the dream state too. But what it is the sankalpa of the infinite. So what? Take it easy. Brahman never leaves its nature. What is the nature of Brahman? Satchidananda. So even though because of my illusion and delusion, I see a world of name and form, what's really there? Brahman alone. Nobody really dies. Yes, but children are getting blown to pieces in Gaza. And then the Vedantin says, which is more real, the pleasant dream or the nightmare? Just because it's a nightmare doesn't mean it's not a dream. And if the self in you is never touched, the self in everyone is never touched. Doesn't mean they're not going through a horrific nightmare, but they're safe. Everyone is. Everything is. Any thoughts on this?
I have a question, Jim.
Please.
So, this idea that consciousness is undifferentiated and then it differentiates itself, and the thought of the little I arises and the whole world comes about. I think the difficulty that I have in understanding this is the mind asks why. I mean, why should this all happen? And the answer that we usually get, that this is Leela or play, this is somehow not satisfying.
I understand. And it's not Leela. God does not have anthropomorphic characteristics. If you see Leela like a child sporting or playing, we call it a play. But let me compare it to this. If I go into the bathroom and I look in the mirror, there's an old man with a white beard in the mirror. Now, did the mirror change into the reflection of the old man with the white beard? Did it?
No.
No. Yet the reflection appeared there. Can I take the image of the old man with the white beard out of the mirror? He's very ugly. I'd much rather have a younger fellow there. No. When I look at the wall next to the mirror, no old bearded fellow. Why not? Because it's the nature of the wall to at best reflect a little light. It's the nature of silver glass to reflect images. Why? It's just its nature. So the physicists say light travels at 186,000 miles per second. And the child says, why? Why not 187? You're a scientist. What's the answer?
It's just that way.
What? That's very unsatisfying.
It is.
But you see, that's the point. The point is, as soon as we start to anthropomorphize consciousness, by that, the Hebrew scripture says God created us in his image and likeness. What happens is people take the opposite of that. I'm going to create my God in my image and likeness. I do things for reasons. We have all sorts of stupid ideas. God created the world because he was lonely. God created the world because he wanted company and wanted to play. God created the world so he could see himself through his creatures. God created the world because he had indigestion. All of this stuff is nonsense. It's just nonsense. It is the nature of consciousness to have images arise in it. Another clear example, if I get my crystal ball out of the cabinet, it's made of quartz crystal, spatika, and then I get, I can't find it right now. There it is, my little prayer stone. This is granite. If I hold up the granite, you don't see any images in it. I hold up the crystal ball and you can see images, reflections in it. Are there images in the stone? No. I cannot cut the stone open and pull out the images. Well, why aren't there images in the granite? It didn't want to have sport. The quartz wanted to have sport. Isn't that nonsense?
Yeah.
It's the nature of crystal to be able to have images reflected. It is the nature of granite to be dull. So that's the best we can do. No one has been able to say why. But understand, all motivation occurs in mind. It is part of the result of Maya. Now, our scriptures, the Puranas, and the Vedas will attribute emotions and motivations to the various gods. That is like the child who goes to Mummy, the 4-year-old, and says, Mummy, where do babies come from? And Mummy says, the stork brings them, dear, eat your breakfast. In other words, it's not true, but it's an answer that will satisfy the child's mind in the now. When the child is much older, then the incredible complexity of the dance between men and women can be explained. Is that useful?
Yes.
Very good question. And one of the things we have to understand is so much of what we find in the Karma Kanda section of the scriptures are practices, solutions, answers for people whose minds are not yet ready for the deeper knowledge. Michael, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, I think that was really well put.
All His grace. All right, next verse.
Anaditva triguntvatva ramatmayamavyayaha sharirasthopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Being without beginning and being devoid of qualities, the Supreme Self, the imperishable, though dwelling in the body, O Kaunteya, neither acts nor is tainted.
So again, this is the language of poetry. Does the self really dwell in the body? Well, it feels like it. It feels like it. We were doing Prashna Upanishad Saturday mornings, and it talks about for the jiva, for the individuality, the sense of I is felt in the heart, in the hridaya. The self is not in the heart. Krishna earlier said, all this is strung on me like jewels on a thread, Mani Sutre. But in the 9th chapter, remember he said, well, actually, I am not in them. They are in me. And a few verses later, he says, well, actually, they're not even really in me because it's all sankalpa. It's all imagination. But the point here is you can look around the room and see the room from your viewpoint. I look around my living room, I see it from my viewpoint. My view is different than your view. You can take a deep breath and become aware of your body with maybe its aches and pains or sensations. I can become aware of my body with its aches and pains and sensations. It's different than your experience. You are aware of your feelings, your joys and your sorrows. I'm aware of mine, my joys, my sorrows. They are different than yours. You are aware of your thoughts. Thank God you're not aware of mine. But my thoughts are different than your thoughts. But if you thin out the mind, tune up the mind, and introvert the attentive faculty, and investigate. Notice the knower. There's only the space of consciousness. Chidaka. When I look behind my eyes and notice the knower, Chidaka. And the self in me is not like the self in you, different. Self in me is the self in you. And that is Krishna. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Yatha sarvagatam sakshmya dhakasham nopalipyate sarvatravasthito dehe tathatmanopalipyate. As the all-pervading ether, Akasha, is not tainted because of its subtlety, so too the self, seated everywhere in the body, is not tainted.
Yes. So this is a classic Shankara metaphor about the pot, the gata. I'll use the water glass. So outside the water glass, we have room space. Inside the water glass, we have glass space. I always like to do my magic trick. Pay close attention to the space in the glass. Did I move space? No, you left it here. No. Space went nowhere. We can't really call it glass space. There's not really space in the glass. There's a glass in space. Not only that, if the glass is dirty, if I have some buttermilk in it, does the buttermilk affect the space? So this body is like a pot. I always think of it like a mug of tea. The physical body is like the mug. The tea in the mug is like the subtle body. Sukshma Sharira, Antakarana. The tea bag, because I'm lazy and I use a tea bag, is like my vasanas. But the self is like the space in the tea mug. Now, if I drop the mug and it's broken, what happens to the space? Now, this implies a practice. Your body will change, undergo experiences as it makes its way through life. Your feelings will change, your thoughts will change, and you will have various thoughts of self. I am young, I am old, I'm smart, I'm stupid, I'm successful, I'm not successful. But understand that that self is a phony self. It's chaya. It's a shadow of consciousness. Fake news. I love the expression that Gaudapada uses in Mandukya Karika. He says, Jiva Bhavana, the attitude or the feeling that I'm a person, It's not an entity. You are the entity. Only one here. So as I go through my day, as I go through my life, keep remembering to stop, introvert the attention, and remember our, what do you call it? We'll call it the TikTok version of Vedanta. If I can see it, it's not me. If I can be aware of it, it's not me. I'm not the body, not a feeling, not a thought, not an ego idea. It's an object of cognition, that's not me. Drop it. And then see whether or not you ever change. And what the scriptures thunder, if you do this, you will see that you, like the space in the pot, pot undergoes changes, the body, mind, intellect undergoes changes. I remain the same. Asanguham. Asanguham. I'm always unattached. Sachidananda Rupaha. My form is existence, consciousness, and no sorrow reaches there. That's a better way to translate Ananda in the beginning. Don't believe it. Look. Next verse.
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नलोकमिमरविः क्षेत्रक्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्न प्रकाशयति भारत. Just as the one sun illumines the whole world, so also the Lord of the field, Paramatman, illumines the whole field, O Bharata.
Oh, there's so many implications in this. So the one sun illumines the whole earth. And then, of course, there's the classic Shankara metaphor image. If I have half a dozen bowls of water on a bright sunny day, I can look in the various bowls. Oh, there's 6 suns. No, there are not 6 suns. There are 6 reflections. One sun. I go like this to one of the bowls of water. Ah, the sun is broken. No, nothing has touched the sun. Tomorrow we're going to have a total eclipse in North America. Rahu is going to eat the sun. Does the demon Rahu really eat the sun? Does anything touch the sun at all? But a shadow is formed. The moon is passed in front. Now listen very carefully. Those 3 words that we have in scripture to point to or indicate the self. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, pure existence. Chit, Prakash, you are the light of pure awareness. And this Ananda, it literally means bliss absolute, but it's not a feeling. I can go outside and talk to the most miserable of creatures. How are you doing today? Oh, life sucks. Got any money? And I say, Are you miserable? Yes, I'm miserable. Do you exist? Of course I exist. What's your existence? Misery. Do you know your misery? Oh, want me to tell you about it? Do I know my misery? So he never doubts, I am. I know. But he's certainly not experiencing bliss. Therefore, most of us have a wrong understanding of the meaning of ananda. There was a gal here yesterday for Upanishad who thought, oh, I want the euphoria of ananda. She wanted to be blissed out. But that comes and goes. Therefore, if the self is kutastha, still and unchanging, ever the same, what I think ananda is can't be some euphoric feeling. Do you understand that? Then what is it? What does ananda really mean? So start with the idea no sorrow reaches there. Physical pain gets to my body, emotional upset gets to my mind, confusion and doubt gets to my intellect. But I am like the center of the cyclone. Nothing touches. Now we call the self ananda because it is the fountainhead. It is the wellspring. It is the source of the blissful mind. And when we discuss the Anandamaya Kosha, we go in depth into how that is. So back to our metaphor here of the sun. So today we had intermittent clouds and mostly clear. That was our weather today. So I go outside and I look around and it's a crisp, clear, cold day, and I look up and I see the orb of the sun. And then a few hours later, clouds come in. And I go outside and it's cold. And I look up and I cannot see the orb of the sun. What are you seeing, Jim? Oh, I'm seeing the high clouds. It's overcast. So then I ask, by virtue of what light can you see the overcast clouds? Oh, by the light of the sun, obviously. So the overcast clouds have not obscured the existence of the sun, nor its prakash, its light. I just can't see its orb. So too, the agitated mind, the mind under the influence of ignorance, cannot experience fully the blissful taste of the self. It thinks happiness is outside. So what do we teach it? You're looking for love in all the wrong places. The happiness you seek in the world isn't in the world. It's your self-nature. Let go of the attachment to the world. Let the mind come home. Drown the mind in Brahman. Then we get Brahmananda Rasa. We get the juice of the bliss of Brahman. This is a very subtle point. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse.
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेव मन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूत्रपकृतिं मोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्. They who, with their eye of wisdom, come to know the distinction between the field and the knower of the field, and of the liberation from the prakriti of the being, go to the Supreme.
Yes. So again, he's using the language of the Sankhya's. Sankhya philosophy is dualistic. It says there's an individual Purusha, and its problem is that it's all tangled up in Prakriti. But Gita is not dualistic. It uses the higher understanding of these words. So we would use the words Nirguna Brahman, Brahman without qualities, meaning the self, and Saguna Brahman, Brahman with qualities, this phenomenal world of name and form. We have the very famous statement from scripture, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world is illusory. Yet we've just heard all this world is nothing but Brahman. How do we reconcile? Just like the images in my mind are imagination, they're not real. But the substratum of the dream, the material cause of the dream, is my mind. So also, the names and forms occur like a hologram, seen but not real. What are they made of? What's it all made of? Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Sarvam idam, all this, meaning the phenomenal word. Kalu, verily, it's nothing but Brahma. The one who sees this has the jnana chakshu, the eye of wisdom. So this is like the third eye of Lord Krishna, the Ajna Chakra in the Kundalini Yoga system. So in our mythology, when Lord Shiva opens his third eye, what happens to the universe?
Destruction.
Yes. What does it mean? What's the mystic symbolism? So when my third eye metaphorically is closed, I think I'm a person and there's a real world out there separate from me that's solid and concrete. And it's got joy-giving and misery-producing properties. But when the jnana chakshu opens, I destroy the world. Meaning, I know that the self in me is kutastha, immovable and untouched. What is this world? It's all Krishna. And the names and forms appear like a hologram. It's a cosmic virtual reality. Seen, but not real. I drive through the desert and I see a flood ahead. My perception is water, my knowledge is water. I keep driving. If you go like this with the wheel, that's what makes the car go forward. Then your jnana chakshu opens up and you realize, oh, wow, a neat optical illusion. It was heat waves off the sand. It was a mirage. My senses continue to report to me water, but I have destroyed the water, burned it to ashes, because my knowledge is sand. So the yogi of steady wisdom, Stita Prajna Purusha, sees the same world as you and me. But she knows Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. It's all just the play of consciousness. Any thoughts on this? Very famous, very beautiful shloka. Next one.
That's the last one in this chapter.
Okay, then I think we'll quit a little bit early. Is that the last one in yours too, Mark?
Yes.
And then do you have a little Upanishad? Om
Yes, yes,
Chant that, please.
yes. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjun Samvade Kshetra Kshetragya Vibhaga Yogo Nam Trayodashodhyayah.
Thus, in the Upanishads of the Bhagavad Gita and the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, the 13th chapter ends entitled Yoga of the Knowledge of the Field and the Knower of the Field. All right, we'll start the 14th chapter, Guni Yoga. The three gunas.
Shall I go ahead?
No, we'll do that next week. But we have a few minutes. Does anybody have any more questions? Going once. Going twice. All right, we'll end here then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.